Not too much, not too little.
Lagom is perfect, so it's not much, not less. It's perfect for me.
It's like, oh god, I can't really explain it without using the word lagom.
Nej, gud, jag vet inte. Så som jag sa på svenska, not too little, not too much, maybe.
Not too much, not too little.
It means like not enough and not too much, but like it's not just the right amount, because it can be like above that amount as well.
The Swedish word lagom, often associated with Sweden, is according to the Swedish lexicon translated to just the right amount, or not too much or not too little. Medium fat milk has become what could be described as almost a symbol for the land of lagom that is Sweden. This because it is considered typical Swedish to come up with yet another thing that should not be too much nor too little, but in between. We interviewed the public and asked them if they believe that lagom is something typically Swedish.
Anser du att ordet lagom är typiskt svenskt?
Ja. Ja, gud ja. Alltså svenskar är verkligen inte för mycket, inte för lite, inte för högljutt, inte för tyst. Alltså vi är väldigt så här, ska vi alla till lag, så allting ska vara väldigt lagom och mellanmjölk liksom.
It's Swedish word, yes.
I think it's a word that is typical Swedish. Yeah, but it's not an expression that is.
After interviewing the public, it was clear what the general opinion was. Everyone we asked considered lagom to be typically Swedish. But why is it like this, when this expression actually can be translated to several other languages, such as the Finnish word sopiva and the Norwegian word passalig? So if the word lagom, we Swedes so often consider a unique Swedish word, exists in our neighboring countries, why does so many Swedes in other countries believe it only exists in the Swedish language? To begin figuring that question out, we decided to meet with some experts on the subject. After meeting with the experts, we came up with two main aspects and one smaller aspect of why we have this perception: Swedish history, Swedish social behavior, and foreign medias. To start off, we will discuss the first main aspect, Swedish history. The origin of the word has for long been interpreted the wrong way and has been thought to come from the Vikings and the contraction of laget om, around the team. Laget om means that when the horn of mead was passed around the table, one should not drink too much or too little. They should drink just the right amount for everyone to receive a fair share. We decided to meet the Swedish linguist Mikael Parkvall at Stockholm University, who's an expert in languages and author of the book Lagom finns bara i Sverige och andra myter om språk, where he says that the theory about laget om is just a myth and that the term lagom has a completely different origin.
Varifrån härstammar ordet?
Det kommer av lag som i bestämmelse. Inte mer än vad lagen föreskriver och inte mindre, utan lagenligt. Ja, dels så finns det ju, det finns ju den typen av myter om massvis med ord. Det är väl någonting allmänmänskligt att vi vill ha ett svar på hur saker och ting har uppkommit i största allmänhet. Jag menar, människan har hittat på skapelsemyter och Adamor och Evor och såna här saker. Och även för ord så vill vi väl tydligen då ha någon sorts bakgrundshistoria. Så det är inte unikt för lagom, men att det har blivit just precis den. Ja, dels så är det väl, sitter man och funderar på lagom, har vi någonting annat som låter ungefär som lagom? Ja, men vi har ju laget om liksom. Men bara en gissning är att om vi nu har bestämt oss för att det här är världens svenskaste ord som bara vi har och som ingen annan kan begripa sig på, jag menar, då ligger ju inte vikingarna så långt borta liksom. Det tycker vi också är assvenskt liksom. Så det kan väl ha bidragit, kan jag tänka mig, men det är bara en gissning.
According to Mikael, the theory of laget om is just a myth. The myth has strengthened the belief that the word lagom is of Swedish origin and that it is unique to the Swedish language, which it is not. But as to why this myth has arisen, Mikael can only guess. He instead states that the actual origin is derived from the plural form of the Swedish word lag, law. Not necessarily to judicial law, but common sense law, which we Swedes are very aware of as well, and can be directly related to Jantelagen or the law of Jante. The law of Jante brings us to our second main aspect, social behavior. We decided to meet Östen Dahl, professor of linguistics at Stockholm University. He told us about the connections between the law of Jante and lagom as a social behavior.
Så man ska vara lagom smart och lagom vacker och lagom berömd och så. Folk som försöker avlägsna sig från lagom idealet, de bryter ju mot jantelagen.
Swedish social behavior can be directly related to lagom and the typically Swedish the law of Jante. But what is the law of Jante? Many of you will ask yourselves. Basically, Jantelagen consists of 10 different laws which embodies a cultural concept unique to Scandinavia, which essentially means you are not to think you're anyone special or that you're better than us, which indicates that lagom could mean the appropriate amount according to the law of Jante. Jantelagen is often associated with Swedes because we are in many cases, both social and financial, in need of moderation, and one should not be different because different is either too much or too little. You should in other words be lagom. We interviewed the public to find out whether the law of Jante, which so often is associated with Sweden, actually is followed by Swedes.
Would you say that you follow jantelagen?
I think so.
Jag gör nog det, men jag skulle ju gärna vilja slippa. Men han sitter där och krafsar en på ryggen.
I don't really brag about so much, so yeah.
I would say that I don't want to follow it, but I probably do. Because I'm grown up with it.
I'm not better than everyone else. Like, I'm special, but like they're special as well.
Ja, alltså man försöker ju självklart att liksom, alltså, gå utanför jantelagens ramar. Sen är det så här, jag har vuxit upp i Sverige och därför självklart påverkas jag av den miljön och samhället som jag lever i. Men jag skulle absolut säga att desto äldre jag blir, desto mer vågar jag liksom kanske strunta lite i jantelagen. Men det är väl för att man kanske hittar sig själv.
So, like, I think it kind of affects like the way, and I think like I follow it because of the way I see myself. So, yeah.
As we could hear in the interviews, many Swedes follow the law of Jante. But why is this behavior so common amongst Swedes? In order to get to know more about what the word lagom means as a social behavior, and in hope to get an answer to our question, we met with the ethnologist Andrea Dankic at Stockholm University, who's an expert on the study of people's behavior.
Det hör ihop med någon slags bild av Sverige och svenskar som många människor gärna vill leva upp till och projicera utåt. Alltså att det passar ihop med den här bilden av Sverige som ett väldigt framgångsrikt välfärdsland där kvinnor och män är jämställda på ett sätt som man kanske inte är i många andra länder. Och så vidare och så vidare.
According to linguist Östen Dahl, there is a strong connection between the law of Jante and the word lagom as a social behavior. After having interviewed the public, it was clear that most Swedes, whether they want to or not, follow the law of Jante. Ethnologist Andrea Dankic means that this could depend on an idea of how Sweden and Swedes are perceived, and that we Swedes want to live up to this perception. By looking at articles from foreign media, we could find several sources connecting lagom and Sweden, as well as Sweden and the law of Jante. This brings us to the third and less obvious aspect, the impact of foreign media. If you see or read news about lagom, you are very likely to be reading about Sweden as well. The law of Jante and Lagom is, according to foreign media, a whole social philosophy and a way of life. This is, for example, shown in a clip from BBC, which compiles the whole term and its effect on our Swedish society.
Lagom is a uniquely Swedish concept. It's a word that you can't translate really into English. It means not too much, not too little, kind of adequate, but it's a whole social philosophy. It's the idea that you should have enough, but not too much. So you can have the IKEA lifestyle, you can have your house decked out, but nothing too grand, nothing too fancy, nothing too puff daddy, no bling.
This is also shown in various news articles.
And it just creeps into all aspects of Swedish life, really, and it's quite pervasive, and I think Jeff gets quite frightened about it, and Ian doesn't like it as well. Ian comes up with this idea that if Lagom was a colour, it would be beige, and if it was a person, it would be Alan Titchmarsh.
But why is there a common perception in both Sweden and other countries that Lagom and the law of Jante is something unique to Sweden? A theory is proliferation of media. It starts off with someone, probably a small news magazine, discovering that the word lagom doesn't have a correct English translation, consisting of one word, and then makes the assumption that no other language does either. Eventually, bigger newspapers such as BBC and New York Times jumps on the trend and the assumption grows. After loads of interviews, meetings with experts and research, we have come to a conclusion of why we think that both Swedes and other countries believe that the word lagom is unique to the Swedish language. The conclusion contains two main aspects and one smaller aspect. The first main aspect is Swedish history and the way the myth about the Vikings and Lagom has struck roots. The second main aspect is the social behavior amongst us Swedes connected to the law of Jante. And finally, the smaller aspect, the impact of foreign media itself, where proliferation of media has played a huge role. All these three aspects are based on reliable sources, such as articles from newspapers like BBC News and the New York Times, as well as interviews with experts. We also based our evaluation on the public's opinions through interviews. As they are just opinions, it does not matter whether we consider the source to be reliable. The experts included Mikael Parkvall and Östen Dahl, both linguists at Stockholm University, and Andrea Dankic, ethnologist at Stockholm University as well. The three aspects stated are, according to us, the reasons to why Swedes and foreign media believe that lagom is something unique to the Swedish language.